Bank of Canada raised interest rates as expected, 25 basis points, and the strength in the Canadian dollar has been savage. So far, US Canadian has moved over 1,000 points from the May high. Now, traders are probably going to price in a second rate hike for later this year because the Bank of Canada statement was very hawkish, and a second rate cut would reverse the two cuts, or a rate hike would reverse the two cuts in 2015. So that may be being priced in. I don't think we will head straight to 124 or so right away, but who knows? Right now it is completely bearish, this pair. There was a sell opportunity here today at trend resistance. I will probably have to redo the count for a more bearish one. All I can say at this time is that there's still divergence on the 4-hour, though the move has been very, very strong. Aussie Canadian came into broken trendline resistance today and sold off immediately on Bank of Canada news. So no change there. This pair remains bearish. New Zealand Canadian 2 is breaking the long-term trend support on the weekly chart. This will be another situation like Aussie Canadian on the daily with this break here. Any retest and retracement and retest should find sellers, and the move down should continue in New Zealand Canadian over the next few months. And Euro Canadian, I'm not sure what happened to the euro today, because all of the euro pairs, I think, have been hit very hard. Now, the price gap is being filled about 20, 30 points from here, so maybe it'll see a bounce. But in any case, if this is running the more bearish scenario now, we have a long way to go, because I still prefer to see this as wave 2 for a larger flat. And if that's correct, we have a long-term bearish situation towards 140. And I'll look at it again if that does materialize. But for now, it's as shown on the chart. And as I went over before, that was the first 5-wave move, 3-wave correction. And now the last few days have seen a series of gyrations. And we may be looking at well, if this is into a wave 3 now, we have a trend break here, a move down, and a retest, same as usual with trend line breaks and retests. But in any case, the Canadian dollar has been so strong, there's no reason to doubt the strength of the Canadian dollar right now. And if traders do price in an anticipated rate hike for later in this year, these pairs have a long way to run. So any retracements remain sells on this pair. US dollar, Japanese yen, it has done enough here for a 3-wave move overall, which does expose it to the deeper idea of another move down. It still needs to be confirmed, but it is looking weak up here. I would like to see a 5-wave decline from the high. Okay, in Euro New Zealand, again with the trend line break. If this can reverse from here, we can mark in a B wave and see a 3rd wave down for C. That is the view here. In Euro Australian also collapsed today. This had a bearish break on the 4 hours. So this pair on any retracement correction will be a chance to sell into. Now, Euro Australian also has a small price gap from the French presidential election down to here. And that is a long move in this pair. So I'm going to keep that in mind, because so far Euro New Zealand has filled its gap. Euro Canadian is now filling its gap. And if Euro Australian fills its gap, we have a long decline to go in this pair. So any sideways retracement, 3-wave retracement correction is a sell in Euro Australian dollar. Okay, the bounce in Aussie New Zealand, I mentioned this on the weekend. The 3-wave decline into weekly trend support does expose it to a possible move higher, and that has materialized. So what are we looking at here? I prefer to view this as one move down, essentially. If we look at this as corrective, as three waves, essentially, A, B, and 5 down for C, we can look at this as a corrective wave so far, which is how I'm preferring to view it at this time, and ultimately to see it still come down possibly for a break of trend line and towards 102, 101. I still like this idea more overall. So let's see if it peters out here over the next few days. Momentum right now is holding to the upside, obviously, but the way I'm looking at it now, if this is 3 down, kind of like when US Canadian was bullish a few months ago, we had a situation here where it was essentially A and B and 5 for C, and then 3-wave correction and another move up. So if on Aussie New Zealand we can see something like that where we have essentially A, B, and 5 for C, a correction, and then another move down, that is my preferred view here still. And I will hold that view as preferred for probably a few hundred points higher if it gets there. Okay, in US dollar pairs, Euro US dollar keeps edging higher at a sharper angle, and this suggests to me that as we enter the resistance box zone up here, it will be looking for a reversal, or rather I will be looking for a reversal in this pair. That idea hasn't changed. As we enter the zone with a COT position which is edging towards extreme levels, I'm looking at this to find some type of resistance up here to sell off. On the 4-hour, we may be looking at some type of ending diagonal up here. Can't say right now, but that is in my mind. But if I remember, it's been a long time, but if I remember from traditional technical analysis, in patterns like this, as the incline becomes steeper and narrower, I think it suggests that it is going to taper off and roll over. So that's what I'm looking for here. New Zealand US dollar, judging by the very extreme COT positioning in this pair, I'm still looking at an exhausting move to the downside. We've had only 3 waves here, so I like the idea that this will reverse down. So I'm going to look to see if I can get a sell into this tomorrow to see if it peters out here, how it works out. And Aussie US dollar, no change in this essentially. It's holding to the upside right now. If this is going to be a leading diagonal for a bigger move up. So far it's holding. I don't have a positional entry on this, so I'm going to pass this by. And cable. I still like the idea overall for another high. Still viewing this as 7 waves into here. So again, frankly, it's difficult to, if I look to the downside in Euro US dollar and New Zealand US dollar and see pound up and possibly Australian dollar up, there's a bit of a discrepancy there, obviously, but that is how I view it at the moment. Certainly New Zealand US dollar, I'm looking to the downside, and Euro looks like it's as it enters that boxed range. The question is more on cable if it gets another high above 130.50, let's say, to be imprecise. Because so far cable does look corrective here. There's some divergence here, but that's the best I can say with that at the moment. Okay, I'll leave it there. And whoa, that is a proper sell-off in US Canadian. The US Canadian has, this is a 1,000-point move. It's over 1,000 now, it's almost 1,100. This move was over 2,000. So whether we look at this as 3 waves or now my preferred view is we're entering into wave 3, there is a lot of downside space still in this pair. That is what I'm feeling at the moment. If we get a 5-wave move here, we can then view it as for a correction, possibly wave 2 of wave 3. But in any case, the downside holds now. The Canadian dollar has been too strong. And if traders price in another rate hike for later in the year, any correction will remain a sell. It would just be a bigger correction for a number of weeks, perhaps. Okay, bye-bye.